if you know of the command called tree, you can run it, and then you see everything that is there. Okay, so click on okay. Thanks. Okay, so oops. All right, so you see this is like the tree of our work as this point. Okay, so um, we have like the starting point, which is the dot. Right. Then in this file we have the file.json file. Then we have this other entity which is a directory, and then inside of this directory we have base model. Inside of base model we have an engine directory, and we have these files within the engine, right? And then within the engine, we also have another file called this. But this one here is not something that you have to worry about. It's just something that's automatically created. Okay. Then instead of the models directory, we have this file over here. Okay, so this is the current tree of our project, right? So since they didn't mention where it has to be specifically, what it has to be is supposed to be in the root of our project, which is where we are now. Okay, so what I'll just do is I'll just say code, right? Because I'm in VS Code, I'll just say code, and then the name of the file, which is console.py. Okay, so now with this, all that we're going to start with is to begin our work. You understand we have to bring in our very first stuff. We have to bring in user being Python 3 a right. So that's the first thing. Then we have to import the CMD module, right? So also there's a difference between a module and so a module is not equal to a model, right? Now just keep that in mind. A model and then a module are two different guys. Okay, so don't think they are the same. Just in case maybe that might be confusing. Okay, so now we have to define a class called HBMB command, and then we are going to inherit from the CMD class, which is inside of the CMD module. Right. So let's go ahead and then do class HBMB command, CMD.command. Right. Then let's go ahead and then let's just for now let's just put like a pass keyword over here. Okay, then down here what we do is you put in the if, right, because we want it to be only executed when it is run directly from this file, right? So you say if name equal to random name, then hpnb command
Not going.
loop. Okay, so this is for that. But there's one more thing that I would like to do, what you shouldn't do for the project. Okay, but what I like to do is to also add in a few things, but I'll show why I'll do that. Okay, but for now let's just run the console and then look at how it would look like. Okay, so um, let me bring up this over here. So I'm just trying to use a separate terminal window so that it's much more easier to see. The first thing we need to do is we need to convert this to be an executable file. So now we go ahead and then we see that we are getting our console alright, right? If I type exit, exit is not known. If I type quit, it is still not known, right? If I try control B, which we know is this, it's still not working, right? So out of desperation or something like that, we will just press Control C. And you see that when we press Control C, that it doesn't look good. Okay, so that is something that I would like to usually catch. So all that I'll just say is I'll just say that try. All right, so try to run the command and then just accept the keyboard interrupt. Right. So then with that, what I'll just do is I'll just say that I'll just print like say false script. Right. Let's say like falsely quit. or let's say aborted. Okay, so just something so that it's a bit more cleaner to look at, right? So I do console and I now press Control C. You can see that at least it looks much more nicer rather than that error that pops up like that. But for the projects, um, you don't need to do that because they say that it's a warning and you should end with just that. So please, uh, in case you are seeing this and that, I mean, if this was my project alone and it didn't need to be checked, I would have added this. And because we are just working on this, I would also add this, right? So uh, this wouldn't be checked by the checker. So yeah, it's fine. Okay. So also you see the prompts that we have over here can also be run um, interactively or non-interactively. Okay. So for example, when I'm in the console, I can type anything, right? Or I can just press enter and then go ahead. Now another thing I would also want to do is I'll just say echo, right? Echo nothing, and then I'll pass it to the console and look at what is going to happen. Like, let's just look at what is going to happen. So if I press the enter key here, you can see that it is running on end. It is continuously running, right? So I have to uh, close it with a control C, right? So like to kill it with that. Okay, so the reason why this happens is you can see that we are like the error here is saying that there's an unknown syntax called EOF.
kama hawategemei,
Okay,
lakini
so
kuna
this
watu
unknown
wenye hiyo
syntax
hii
is only triggered
nyimbo
when we run a
jao, watu
command that
ambao
doesn't
wamesoma
exist.
nao
For example, when I
wakajua
do
wanajua
ls,
kwa
it
wenyewe.
says ls
Sasa
is not
ni watu
a valid
ambao
command.
ni mtu ambaye
So when I
anaweza
also type
simama mahali
EOF, you can see that
aheshimu,
it's showing me the
hana
same
kiti
error,
cha president,
right? So
lakini
this
ako
EOF probably
heshima
means
kama
that
ule
when
president.
nothing is received or
Filosofi
uh,
juu
okay,
anaweza
we
kuambia
understand
mambo
what
ambayo wewe
EOF is,
umeheshimia
right?
miaka 40
That,
na
that that
hujui,
is the end of file, and
lakini
you also
amesimama
use that
mpaka
to
anakuambia kuna
gracefully
hii
shut
na hii
down
na
the
kupusha
the
hii
console.
kuende
Okay, so this over here is our
simulate
way of sort of getting out of
filosofi.
the console. Okay, so
Anapenda
let's
tu
first of all build that first. So again, there's going to be a command. So what do you think should be the name for the command? Uh, how should we call this command here? Uh, we are going to create a method that will create the command. So based on the documentation that we just read, how is the like the method supposed to be named?
quit. You should start with the do. Okay.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So so I'll say do and then EOF, right?
should
Capital like that. Okay. So then also what we do is do
sorry.
line, right? So that's what we do. But I'll show why I probably wouldn't do this, right? So you see that we are creating an instance and then we do self and then we do this, right? So the line is going to be the command that we are going
Hawa
to
tunaongea
receive.
nao si wa Kenya
Okay.
hawa.
So
Kama huyu mwenye anaongea ni
um,
Mgana huyu.
that's
Ako huko
and
huko kwao saa
later
hii ni
I
saa
would
kumi na
take it out and then
saa
show you
ngapi?
why maybe you want
Saa
to
hii
put that there.
kama saa
So
nne
now
imefika ni saa
all
moja
that
huko
we do
kwao.
again here is
Tukianza
to
hapa saa tatu kwa ni saa
do
kumi
this,
na mbili
right?
huko
So
kwao, saa kumi na
when,
mbili
when, when
jioni.
we started, I was saying that
Wengine ni wa Nigeria hapa.
the
Mtumi kama nizongea naye
the
mtu ako uzunguni. Bora tu
the
nimemtumia link.
like the loop will continue running until we return true. Okay, so
Kwanza
as
kama
the pre-CMD is
bora
how
kuna
we
bundles
first of
tu
all modify the
na ako na
command,
hii
or
link
it is
tabu yangu.
where is it? Let me just bring that one more time.
Nadhani internet.
Okay, so this pre-CMD is executed just before the command line is interpreted. Also, there's another another method called post CMD, and it's always the next thing that is run after something has been evaluated. Okay, so
Mgana huyu
if
jamaa anaitwa Maxwell.
at any point in time this guy over
Mgana.
here receives true as its result or as its value, it would basically stop. It wouldn't continue again. Okay, so for instance, all right, when
Somebody.
we are running the shell, we are typing everything that we are typing, right? It is still keeping this running. But then in any of the commands that we have, if we return true from the commands, okay, so keep this in mind. The command itself that we have, if any command returns true, then it's going to exit. But if we have any other random function that we want it to return true, that wouldn't affect that, right? And I'll show something from my project just to make that clear. So if you are returning true from the in any command, like anything like let's say do EOF or anything that is specific to the TMB class, it would like close or stop the execution. Okay, so by default it is always with returning false. Okay, or normally the way that it keeps running is because the stop is not true, right? It's always false. Okay, so that is why the console is able to keep running. So now all I'll do here, I'll just say return true. Okay, so that's all I will do. So when I return true, now when the post CMD method is being run, it will receive the true. Once it receives the true, that's what it's going to do. It will close out or it will end. Okay, so now let's see whether this is going to solve our problem. So yeah, let me close. Okay, so now I'll go to the console. When I do help, right now you can see that there's an EOF command over here, and currently it is undocumented because we have not added any help, or like we've not added any, let's say, doc strings, right? So here, if we just do, let's say, exit the program, right, and we come back to test it, like I close. Okay, so now you can see I press Control D to exit out, but also currently it doesn't look very nice, right? So we fix that. Let's put a print statement so that it prints a new line before it returns the true. Okay, so let's do that one more time. So now when I do help, I see that now the EOF is part of the documented commands. And now when I do help on EOF, I can see that it says exit the program. And it grabs the doc string that we have. Okay, that's one place that it gets the help from. Or we can have a specific method called um, sorry, help EOF, right? Something like that. Okay, and then here we can print something over there. Okay, so we say here this command will just close the console nicely, right? Something like this. Okay, so now if we close again and then we run the console and I say help on EOF, you can see that now it's showing me the help from this particular one over here. So it's either your help, like your specific help methods that you write for the commands. So you see this help EOF, like the name of the command, right? So it's either your doc string or you can have specific help for the commands that you are going to write. Right. So for the EOF, it's very simple, and I wouldn't write a specific help for it. But for extra commands that you want them to maybe be able to use it for specific things, you can use this thing to work with that. And I think that's much better than using the usual doc string because, for example, in your doc string, it doesn't really look nice most of the time. Not that your doc string doesn't look nice, but it doesn't look nice as a user. Right? It didn't really help them much, and I'll show why. Okay, so now with the do EOF command there, I can do Control D, and you can see that nicely it's prints a space, so it prints a new line before returning true. Okay, so now I can also do echo nothing, right? And then I can say the console. You can see that now it doesn't continuously run, right? So whenever we are trying to exit out, the EOF is what is received, right? So usually, right, when we are writing with working with the commands, um, like I don't think I should, but it's actually worth mentioning. The prompts that we see, it is using like a specific, let's say, function, which would stop on an EOF error. Okay, so what this class is doing is that it's going to grab that EOF error and then rather try to set the line to be EOF and pass it as command. So that is why we need to have this EOF over here, right? So whenever we are doing something like that, that's what it's going to be doing. We need to parse it so that we can fix that particular error. Okay, so that's the first thing that we would run. Now we need another method which is called quit, and quit is also going to do about the same thing. So def, quit, self, and then the line, right? So we need this line. If I just self, right, and I go to the console and I try to do Control D, the do EOF takes one positional argument, but two were given. So this two that was given is the line that we give, like the line on the console. So if I press Control D, it is similar as typing EOF on the console, right? So this EOF is a parameter that is passed to the command. Okay, sorry, to the method. All right. So that is why we needed this self. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Are we good?
Hello,
Hello.
what is the essence of the line?
I just explained that the essence of the line is what we pass on the console. So what any it can be whatever, but the purpose of this add over here or the line is to um, hold this line that we have, right? So when I type in anything over here, this is the line, all right? Okay. So if we have a method called do EOF, the do EOF is going to wait for a line, right? So um, actually, okay, this is how the do EOF command actually works. Like we type do, sorry, we type EOF on the console, and this is what we get, right? But we don't usually type do, sorry, we don't usually type EOF on the console. What we rather use is a control B, and the control B also sends the same key, or like sends the same word, right? So that's why we need that. So this over here is the line. Are you getting that? The thing we type on the console is the line.
So even the even if the command was do, for example, do quit, and you type quit in the console, that quit will be the name of the method will be in the part of the line.
Yeah. So if we say quit like that, like
Yes.
quit is going to wait for the command called quit on the command line, right? So yes, the method we create, we are going to be looking for commands that will be typed on the console. All right. So when we do quits like this, because we don't have a method called do quit, it's not showing, right? So how this method knows how to find it is by looking at a line. Okay. So most of the things have been abstracted from us. Right. There are other functions that are handling the parsing and to handle a lot of things. So we don't really handle those tokenizations and things like that. So the line is how we are able to tell what command it is. Okay, and that is all from the console. Are we good?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Ahmed,
Okay, maybe. Okay, I'm just talking. Can you try zooming your screen? People are complaining here in the comment section.
is it okay?
Okay, but so on my end, I think it's okay. It was okay. Maybe the ones who are saying Maxwell should zoom his screen. Yeah, yeah, I can
Okay.
see they're saying it's okay.
Really, if I zoom too much, but by the time you see it to be so big that I wouldn't have space for
Maybe,
any actual thing. Okay, I've zoomed again. Is it okay?
yeah, I can
Okay,
see they're saying it's okay now.
okay, okay. All right. So I'll do Control D and then get out of here. Okay. So okay. So now the next method that we have to build is called a quit. So again, do quit. Right. So then we also need a line. Right. Line. And then here, all we do is we are just going to return true because that is all that it is going to do. Right. Okay. So that is what it's doing. Right. But then, okay. So let's test before I continue. So let's say quit. Right. So now quit is working. Right. Earlier it wasn't working because it wasn't there. If you make a mistake and you do capital quit, it doesn't exist because we don't have a method called do capital Q or capital Q quit, right? So case is sensitive. Okay, so now here's what I like to propose, right? Whenever you're writing a method in a class and you find yourself never using the self method, sorry, the self keyword inside of the method itself you are writing, that should tell you something. And that is where static method comes inside. Okay, so this class over here, sorry, this method, these two methods, you can see that there are nowhere that we use the self. So we have to really not use self. Okay, it's fine to use it, but for me, like it's not very fun because I never use the self itself. So it's much more better that I'll just call this class or make this class a static method. So all I'll do is I'll add the creator static method on top of it. All right. So now the other thing too is that okay, so I'll do the same thing here. Static method. Okay, so the reason here is because we never use a self in the method itself. Okay, then the next thing is this. You see the line here, we never actually use the line anywhere inside of this place, or anywhere in the method itself. So by convention, whenever you need a variable that you wouldn't use for anything, you just have to use an underscore, just an underscore, just that. Right. So here I'll also change this to be an underscore. Okay. So that is like just a few things that I just wanted to mention. It is okay if you still use the self and all those things, but by convention, this is something that you can try. Right? If you find that any of your methods does not use the CLS keyword or the self keyword, that should let you know that you are working with uh, um, or you should be creating a static method. Okay, so that's just something I wanted to mention about that. Any questions up onto this point?
Can you repeat the use of the underscore?
Okay, so I was saying that the underscore is used when you need a variable whose purpose is not useful, or probably let's say when you need a variable that wouldn't be let's say referenced anymore, right? So maybe to put that in an example, right? Let's say that uh, I need to print hello 10 times. Okay, so I can say something like, oops, let me just say I5. Okay, so here I can say something like for I in range 10, right, print um, hello world. Right, you can see that this works fine, but then the I itself was never used in any of the body or like in the body of loop, right? So usually what is recommended is to do this because the I wouldn't be used, right? This variable would not be used for anything else. It's just needed for place holding sake, right? So we can rather say for underscore in range 10 print um, hello world, right? And that does the same thing, right? So the underscore is, let's say if you have a variable which you wouldn't use for anything else, but just for that specific thing that you needed it for, like just something like this, then you don't have to give it like a specific variable name like that. It's just a Python thing, right? So yeah, exactly.
Thanks for that.
So so now we have our um, two commands. We have the EOF available, and we also have the quit available. Okay, so as good practice, let's just say um, quit the program, right? Just that. Okay, so that is all that we will do, and that is all that we need. Okay, so here I'll just put some few spaces. Then let's say here I'll just say it defines.
Hello? Yeah, Maxwell, sorry to interrupt. The underscore here, sorry, does it mean the self or the line variable? The underscore in those functions and those static methods.
Could you come again?
I said sorry to take it back. Like that underscore, does it mean the self variable or the line variable?
Okay, so this underscore over here is really just going to be the line. It's rather being in place of the line. Right. So like here was line like this, right? So I'm saying that we never use the line
Okay.
itself anywhere in the
Yeah.
function. Yeah. So by convention, it's better to use the underscore because you like though you need like like a parameter for this method here, but then the parameter is never used inside of the method itself. Right? Though, like we need to have it there because you remember that there's a line passed, but then we never use it. Okay, but if you want, you can also have the line there. Right? But the line can be there, but just that it's not used. So
All right. Okay.
yeah. So that's why I put that there. Okay, so with that out of the way, you can see that we are done with tax. Nope, we are not really done yet. So we've done the quotes and then the EOF, right? So the other thing that we have to do is we need a custom prompt. And what did we say we can use for the custom prompt? Like
HBLD.
which attributes could we modify to get a custom prompt?
The prompt. The prompt.
Come again?
It's
Hello?
Is the
Prompt.
prompt attribute?
Empty.
The prompt
prompt.
attribute.
Prompt.
The
Okay.
prompt attribute.
Okay. So let's just use that. I'll say prompt and then pass it this over here.
HBLD.
HBND, right? Like that. Okay. So like one of the things that maybe I would also encourage that you do is you see all of these things here, the their code bases on GitHub. So you can actually click on the specific thing here, and then it will take you to where it is actually defined. Right. So this is where the CMD module that we are talking about is actually defined. Right. So you can see the prompt is available there. The you can see like this is what the prompt was set to, and like it was set to this. thing over here. You can see there it is. And then like everything that we've been talking about, it's is here. The command loop, the everything is there. The pre CMD, right? So sometimes maybe looking at a command is going to be how you probably would maybe understand how it's supposed to work and a few things. So you can see that there's also a method over here called a parse line, right? So we are saying that we don't really handle the tokenization and those things, right? But there's a method over here that is handling that, right? So it doesn't mean that because we said it's not like we don't handle that, it's not being handled. Someone is handling that already. So there's code already handling everything for us. Okay, so now you can see that if we repeat the last non-empty command enter, you can say if self the last command, then return self.one command self.last command. So this one command over here is what takes care of executing the command. So think of it as the exact VE of Python if it's easier to understand. Okay, so that should also let you know that there are other things that we are not really overriding. There's this last command over here, right, which is set every time that we run a command, right? So let's say when we go to the the one command here, you can see that the self the last command is being set to the line. So if this line over here is not empty, then every time we press the enter key without pressing like any actual thing, the last command we run is what is going to be used, right? So we talk about the fact that that's how it works, but then if you look at the code, you get a better understanding of why it's working the way it's working. Okay, you can see also that they also handle
Hi.
Hey Maxwell, yeah, sorry.
tokenization. You
Okay,
see, um,
okay, sorry about the guys. So in Ghana right now, the internet connection is usually not okay. So just have to bear it with us. Yeah, he's already back. So
all right,
yeah.
sorry. There is not my network. I received a call, right? And my network prioritizes call over data. That's why that happened. It's not like
Okay.
yesterday, not yet. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. There was a call coming through, but that's why. Right? So like I said, the network prioritizes call like voice over data. So the moment a call comes through, anything data will be cut off until the call is off. Yeah, so sorry about that. Okay, so bring it back the oops the screen. Uh, I raised my own hand. Yeah, okay, so um, as I was saying, right, sometimes you have to go to the code itself to understand what is happening, right? Like, I get that the documentation might be cryptic a little bit sometimes. Should I say not a little bit? Okay, the, the documentation can be cryptic, um, but if you take time to also maybe, oh sorry, not there, right? So when you look at the documentation, there's the source code that you can go and look at. Okay, so you might be wondering how is able to get the command and what the argument is and what things like that are, right? So you can see here in a command called like parse line, right? It takes care of splitting certain things, right? Let's say you can see that it tests if the line is not there, then return none none and then a line. If the line is equal to question mark, then print the line is going to be equal to help plus whatever. If the line is like the first line is equal to an exclamation mark, it checks if um, we have like a method called do shell, right? So with with these things over here, the documentation here would start to make sense, right? Because here, for instance, they tell you that a line beginning with the character uh, exclamation mark is dispatched to the method do shell if such a method is defined. So if you are looking at the code over here, I don't know if that's clear enough. Okay, yeah. So if you're looking at the code over here, you can see it's saying that if the first line that it receives is that, then it's like the first letter over there is an exclamation mark, then it will run the help command on it. Right. So like these are things that you would have to let's say get used to reading and checking back on the code up and down like that. That's how well, that's how I learned. Yeah. So that was just to make the point clear. So now we see that most of the things are being covered for us. So we don't have to worry about tokenization or anything like that unless we have to do it. Right. So if you have a specific way you want your commands to be evaluated, then you can override the methods. You are free to do that. Right. But most of them have been already done, which we don't need to worry about. Okay. So now, as I was saying, the other method that we are going to override is going to be uh, the empty line method. And as it says, if the method is not overridden, it repeats the last non-empty command. And this is what it's doing so far. If we do console, and let's say I type like when I press the enter key like this, nothing is happening because the enter key is an empty something. Right? It's empty. Right? But let's say when I type a command which doesn't quit it or which doesn't exit the console, it will run it again. Let's say when I type ls here, which is a bad command, and I press the enter key, it will keep running ls again because um, I've not overridden the method over here called empty line. And this here creates the last CMD attributes, right? And it keeps calling it with a self like with the one CMD command or method, right? So that's what keeps happening. And this last CMD over here, like here, I'm trying to make, try to uh, make this here a bit more uh, easier for us to understand why the things are happening, right? So inside of the one CMD method, you can see that they set the last CMD to the line, right? And then if the line is equal to EOF, then they set it back to empty, right? Because when we are exiting. So like the last command shouldn't be there because if we make a mistake and then we set it to be there, something bad will happen. Like we wouldn't get the result we are probably looking for. Okay, so that is like something, right? But like again, you can go back to this code and then read through it. it's about less than 500 lines, right? 400 code. And like using this, you can understand more of what is happening and why it is happening. Okay, so like I think this is how you understand what is happening in the hood or like under the hood, and then you can be able to maybe appreciate it more and know what to even modify. Okay, so back to the thing over here. Okay, so here all of it we are going to do is to just we can do something, right? We have two options. Instead of the self, sorry, instead of this method, the empty line. Hmm, yeah, we'll be looking at code while we write code, so bear with us. What is the empty line? I can just skip. Okay, let me just set for it. Empty line. Okay, so there's the empty line, right? So what if we just set the self, the last command to be empty over here, right? So I think there are multiple ways to do it. So let's walk through it. Right? So if we set the self, the last CMD to be an empty string, then we shouldn't have an issue with that. Okay, so I'll do that, and then like we'll discuss what is happening, and then we'll also talk about other ways to go about it. Or does anyone have any question or any addition to what we've talked about so far? Okay, on the silence, let's continue. So what we just do is we just go ahead and say def empty line, right? And then what I'll do again, right? So what I do is like I just want to have something here like that. It's fine. Okay, so what I'll just do is I'll just say self the last command is equal to an empty line here, like an empty string. Okay, so now let's get back to our console and test again. So console, let's say I type ls, and ls is a bad command. So now when I press the enter key, you can see that ls is not like the output for ls is not being re-executed. Okay, so that's one way to go about that. Or when we override this, we can just say, okay, well, for this function, I beg you, don't do anything. Yes, don't do anything, right? So again, when we come here and we type ls and we continue pressing enter, nothing keeps happening. Okay. And one more nice way that we can even work with it is, well, we can say that we can have a doc string. Let's say, um, just pass, don't do anything, right? And once we do this, we can even take away this keyword over there. Now, when we come back to the console and we type a run command like ls and we keep pressing the enter key, nothing keeps happening. Right. So the whole thing is that we have created or overridden the class. Like the moment that we create a method of the same name in the super class, we have essentially overridden it. Okay, and then over here, like we've seen three methods. Either we set the last command attribute to be an empty string, or we just have the method just have the keyword pass, or just with a documentation like this, we are good to go. All right. So any way that you choose to do it, that's fine. But that's one way to go about that. But for the sake of maybe learning sake, I'll just set the last command to be equal to empty string, right? Just so that we can see what actually happened. Okay, so that is what is happening here. That every time we press the enter key or like we put an empty, okay, quick one. Anytime that we type a command in and then we just maybe press the enter key or just add or like just execute commands that does not contain an actual word or any characters, this one is going to be executed, right? So now we've set it to be an empty string here, so it wouldn't cause the troubles. and we've seen this happen or work so far. So that is like the methods in which we can do that. And frankly, I wouldn't have known that if I shouldn't have checked the code itself, right? The documentation is okay, but sometimes you just have to go through the code and understand what is happening. I understand that not every time would you get access to the code base of the thing you are looking at the documentation of. But when you have the chance, look at it. Okay. So that is what I did for that side. So here we have essentially just solved that problem. Now the other thing here was to do what? Yeah, I think we have handled that. Right. We have the quit command, the EOF. We also have nice command help for the commands that we have. And we've also created our custom prompts. And also when an empty line is there and then the enter key is pressed, nothing is being executed. Okay, so we've handled all those cases. Any questions so far? Any additions?
Yeah. This question I want to ask, I don't. I hope you've not. Sorry. So can you mute yourself like it's echoing? Okay. So I stepped out for like 5 minutes. So, but I just hope the question I want to ask maybe it's not something you've explained before. Is there any difference between the quit method and control D like this EUF? I don't know if you mentioned that.
Okay, so yeah, there's a difference between them, right? When we do Control D, or better, let me show this, right? We've seen this thing before where we were talking about the ASCII, right? So whenever we have this thing here, like the incoming, that's supposed to be which one here after? Yeah. Okay. So um, we have like some characters over here, right, which marks onto certain keys that we press. Okay. And this is maybe bringing back some C vibes, but actually it's necessary. Right. So some of the keys that we have over here, for instance, you can see that when we do um, \n, it is supposed to be a new line or something like the press of the like the key, sorry, the enter key. In the same way, there are other um, things that let's say send some information or like like um, when we press those keys, they send some information, and then that EOF that we talked about. Okay, what it happens is that when we press that Control D, it sends that string. It's like that's what it does. And so if we have the do EOF over here, like this do EOF, is supposed to grab the part when we do a Control D. When we do a Control D, the CMD module, what it does is that it will convert the line into like it will set the line to be equal to EOF, right? But then here we also want a command called quit, right? So here I can type EOF and it will run, but then we wouldn't be typing EOF like that. So whenever we are doing, okay, better, let me show this more in a different way. So let's say I come to Python. Oh, come on. Okay. Now, I'll say something like name is equal to input, like this, right? And then instead of print like typing something, I'll press Control D, right? So when I press Control D, you can see that I have an EOF error. Okay, so this EOF error over here is handled by the command we are talking about. So let me just show where it is done. So let me just search for EOF. Right. So now when we have the prompts, right? So you can see that they are using the inputs that I just showed. So when we are supposed to type something and we press the control D, this over here sets the line, right? The line in this case is what we talked about, right? What we type on the console. That's how it sees it. So it sets this line to be EOF, right? So when it sets this thing to be EOF, then we also have to have a method which is supposed to handle this EOF command. Okay, so because currently, if we have this EOF over here, it's going to be sent as a command, right? So that EOF is going to be on its own, and the quit is also going to be on its own. And the EOF story is this. Basically, we press Control D, and normally, if we press Control D, this is what we should get. But they've handled the exception and they've modified the line to be um, this string, and they pass it back to the console so that it will rather run this instead of printing the error that we saw when I just ran this over here. Okay, so that is that for the EOF, and then for the quit command is what we wanted. We wanted that when the user types quit on the command line, we should have a method to handle that, or we should be able to handle that correctly. Okay, so um, does that handle your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get back to the other stuff. Okay, so we've handled those particular parts at this point, right? So we could add more documentation, but I wouldn't do that for now. Okay, so that is for these parts now. Okay, so the other part that we have to work on is these ones over here, and I would have really loved if we were um, like collaborating on this over here, right? Because today is PLD, right? So it would have been nice if maybe like, okay, I did it like this, you did it like that. Let's show how we did it, something like that, right? So what do you guys think? Would you like to connect to the VS Code and then maybe I'll call it like and the reason why maybe we may not want to do that is because of like the time, like how much it will take. But I also think that it's going to be a good way to also like share our ideas so far like that. But anyway, you can let me know what you think in the chat. I'll be looking over there. Would you like to have access to the VS Code and then as we go on to the sorry, to the next part of the console, right? We are going to be building this part of the console here. That's where we are going to be building the console with a lot more stuff. So we are not going to inculcate our model thing that we've done already inside of the console so that when we type something, the console will be like, okay, well, I should do this and do that. What do you guys think? Would you like to do a live coding session where I'm not the only one coding? hmm Okay, so in that case, what is going to happen is I would, as we do, yeah, Bucci. Okay, as in you are raising your hand to say that you agree. Is that the case?
No, no, I want to ask a question, please.
Okay, okay, good.
Okay, in this command line that we have written, the console. Okay, have we implemented when we want to run the console in a non-interactive session, like when we want to use echo to pass our commands to the console?
Okay, okay. So for this project, right, we don't really need to really handle um like non-interactiveness very much differently. The more reason why the non-interactive is important is mostly because of this EOF error, right? So if we do not type anything and we just press something, like we just don't put anything, we are going to have the problem, right? So like there's no specific reason why we should like handle EOF differently, but
No,
sorry,
I didn't say EOF.
yeah.
Uh,
I
you know,
actually like sorry, it was uh, a mistake that I said. So I'm just saying that the only test for the EO, oh, again EOF. I'm just saying okay, relax, relax. Okay, so the reason for testing for the non-interactiveness is mostly to ensure that the EOF is being caught, all right? Because when we have like earlier, I showed that without the EOF, when we run, okay, let me rather show that rather than explain. So let's say now I've commented out the EOF, right? So now if I do something like uh, pick one, right? So if I do something like let's say echo, let's say help, and I pass it to the console, you can see that it is continuously running, right? And it is sending the command EOF, and EOF, I've just commented it out, right? So I think that the real test for the non-interactiveness is to ensure that we actually handle the EOF command, right? So because without that, we are going to have it running indefinitely.
okay. If you read the ALS, like the at the top of the project when they were giving us like concept page on how to do the project, they said there was a place there. They said that our console should also work non-interactively, and I don't know up till now. I've not been able to get my checks on that task 6, although everything is working fine, but that particular command, like that non-interactive part of it, I don't know. I think it might be the reason why I'm not yet get, because it also happened to me in simple shell. Yeah, I missed that pattern. I got everything, almost everything red checks, and immediately I fixed it. It worked fine. So that was why I'm asking.
Okay, so
If you go up, yeah, that place, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I get that. Right, but it should be to run interactively and non-interactively as well. Right. So, like I was saying, like the road test for the non-interactiveness is, let's say, when the EUF is um, given or when it is sent to the input, right? So, in the shell, right? Let's say when I'm in a shell like this, let's say I want to type echo hello world, or let's say echo ls dash l, and then I want to pass it to um, the sh command, right? So when I do this, I know that okay, that's a lot. Rather, let me do I'm coming. Let me use our projects directory so that it looks much more familiar. Okay, so let's say I want to run the ls command on the sh shell, right? So if I do this, I can see that it is running without the prompt, right? So, but then if I step into the sh, I can see the prompt, right? So for the shell, the non-interactiveness is to ensure that we do not print the prompt, right? Yeah. So yeah, we type. So for the non-interactiveness over there, like for the shell, was mostly to ensure that we are not printing out the prompt when we are not in interactive mode, right? But for this one over here, I think the more reason for the non-interactiveness is to ensure, or like the reason is to ensure that whenever the EOF is raised, is able to be caught, by like our code is able to catch it and handle it correctly, right? But then if you wanted, you could have also maybe created it in a way that when you do, let's say, echo help on your console, maybe the HBNB prompt wouldn't show. But that is not the focus of this project. I think it's mostly on the EOF. Okay, so that is what I think about that. So if you have a problem with that, maybe you should check if there's something else that you are not handling. The QA review is also available. So check if it is actually that fault that you have or something else. Okay, so that is a few things about it. Okay, all right. So let's get back to the other stuff. Okay, so I shared the link. I don't know if anyone has been able to join. No one. Okay. So for our time's sake and everything, let's move on. Right. I was talking that we could work together. Okay. So um, once I write this console, the rest of it will be something that you have already done. So I wouldn't tackle 8 and 9. Right. Maybe after I do the, or after we do the 7, someone else can take on the 8 and 9 and 10. Right. Because these ones here, I think, are things that we have all done. Right. So right after 7, you, I'll step down, and if the session has to still go on, then another person can go ahead and then do for 8, 9, and 10. And I think that'll be very straightforward. Like we all would agree to that, right? So let's do the ones that are more pressing, and then the other one shouldn't be very hard for us to work with. Okay. So let's go ahead here and then do the rest. So we are supposed to update our console in a way that it would handle the create command,
Sure.
the show command,
Destroy
destroy,
and all.
all, update, and what again? Yeah,
That's all.
all right. And then for each of these commands, there are specific things that need to happen. It will create an instance of the base model, saves it to a JSON file, and prints the ID. Right, so this is what needs to happen for the create command. Okay, it creates a new instance of the base model, saves it to a JSON file, and prints the ID. Okay, so this how is going to be executed. Create base model, right? Create, and then the name of the model we are going to create. So if the name is empty, like if the class name is not available, then we would like print that the class name is missing. Okay. Also, if the class name doesn't exist, then we will say class doesn't exist. Okay. So that is for that particular one over there. Then the show also has its own way, but then we are going to be building it, like building the commands one by one. Okay. So let's start with um, the first part. Okay. So let's come to this one. So the first thing I will do is, I mean, we are going to create a command, so we need to do create self and then the line. All right. So now, first of all, it says that we have to create. Um, uh, can I make my text a little bit smaller? Is this clear for you guys? Like, is this text clear? Because
Yeah,
okay,
sure, sure. It's very clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just so I can make them side by side nicely. Okay, so we have to create the base model, save it to a JSON file, and then print the ID. Okay, so basically that's all we are supposed to do, right? We receive the line and then create something with it. Okay, so here's what is going to happen, right? We are going to receive the line. Okay, so okay, for now, let's just say print line. Right? Let's just print the line by itself. Let's not do anything just yet. So let's have a terminal where we would test our where we will be testing our stuff. Right. So I'll run the console. Right. Then I'll type create. Right. So currently create has nothing. Right. So you can see that this create over here is exempted from the line, right? So a lot of things has happened on the line by the time the create command receives it, right? So the line that is actually going to receive is going to be anything after the create command, right? So think of it like the argv. Okay, so we know that like the argv, like the zero, like the first index is the zero, and that's the, let's say, the command itself, right? So the command itself is not part of the line at the time that the command receives it. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Are we getting the concept, right?
I
The
think
the command itself over
uh,
here, by the time it receives a crate, get into the command here.
hi.
Yeah, hello.
So is create part of the line, or create is just separately? What you enter after create is what is part of the line.
Yes, okay, so like the line is going to be what is going to come after the command in this sense. Okay, so there's more reason why I was saying that looking at the code they have is important, right? So whenever we receive the command, right, this is where we begin from the command loop. Okay, so then we are going to receive a line. Okay, so when we receive the line, something happens, right? It goes ahead and then does some things. Okay, so within the command loop, it does whatever it does, set completers, get completer, pass and bind, blah blah, everything like that, right? Once it is done, it also sets like you see here, it sets the line equal to this guy over here, and then here also like sets the stop a few things. But for now, let's only concentrate on the line, right? The line is equal to the pre command, right? So this pre command over here is going to return a line, right? And the line here, as you can see, is is a command that is a command that we receive on the command line before it is interpreted. So actually, what is happening is that um, okay, better. I think one way to make it easier to get grasp this is this. Let's say I'll have a method. I'll create the CMD method, right? Again, and then here I'll print the line, okay, and then return it again, right? Just so that we can see. Okay, so but what I'd rather do is I'll say um, pre command, right, and the uh, line is equal to this, and then here um, let me just copy this, okay, and then here is going to come from uh, do create. Okay. So now let's look at the results of this again. So I'll clear this and then I'll say console. Okay, so you can see now if I'm just pressing the enter key, and the line at this point is this, right? So now let me write create, right? Okay, you can see that from the perspective of the pre-cmd command, the line is called create. But from the create command, right, the create command, the line is empty. Does that make sense? Right. I am the command called create. So I don't need to know myself. I'm the create command. Okay. So think of it in terms of the like the argv thing, right? So the argv0 is a command, and then so we actually need everything from argv1 all the way to the end, right? So argv1 is the command, right? So um, during the time where all these things happen, like the guy over here, like the pass line, will handle um, the like many things, right? It will take care of a lot of things. It will check stuff, do many things, and then by the time it's done, it's going to send the command, right? Let me bring it over here. So um, here, like the part over here, we just handle a few things, right? So you can see that the what do you call it? The okay, let me not cover. But okay, for example here, let me try to uh, show this. Okay, so for example, if the line is, let's say, the exclamation mark, you can see that it's starting from line one all the way to the end, right? So that's something that is doing over there. If that makes sense to us over here. In the same way, like the one command over here is sorry. Before it gets to the one command, it has gone through all of those like stuff, right? So um, okay, okay. So I'm just trying to say that um, the command is being splitted. It's like there's a lot of things that goes on before we really even get to this part. Like a lot of things goes on, right? So by the time it gets to the command itself that we are trying to write, the create is the command. So if I do create something like, let's say, create base model like this, now the create command over here is only going to see base model, okay? But the create command sees all like sees everything. All right. So that is why we say that in the pre command it is able to modify the command before it is interpreted. Okay, so that is what is happening. So for at the side of the base, sorry, of the command that we are going to create, it's only going to see what we want it to see. So it's going to be after the name of the command. So create base model, we are going to see everything from argv1 all the way to the end. Right. So if I say create base model,
Yes, yes, thank you.
okay. So that is out of the way. So now we see that we have to work with the base model. So we have to import it, right? So let's go ahead and then import it. So from models dot in, so sorry, from base model, import base model. Okay. And remember the thing that we did with the other class where we created a specific dictionary for that.
Yeah.
We could do that, right? So for now, let's do this in a naive approach, right? Now, as in we are currently just building for the base model. We are only just doing for base model. Okay, so let's go ahead and then do this. So it says that when we see the create command, we have to create the base model. So create a new instance of the base model. So let's just say I'll call this new base. All right, so new base is equal to base model. Right. It creates a new instance of the base model. Then it saves it. Dot save. Then what should it do again? It should print the ID of new base dot ID. That's it. But then you can see that there are other things that need to be there, right? So let's continue and then like check it, right? So for now, we just let's assume that everything is working alright, and for now we've not checked for the errors or anything like that. But let's see whether our code is working so far. So I'll exit out, and again you can see that from here you can see that when I press the control D, the line was equal to EOF. That is why we needed that EOF command. So read the documentation, check out the code, put it together. That's how you get it. Okay, so now I would also take away this method here. I'll just use it for explanation. So now getting back to the console, now I can do create then base model, right? And that looks fine. And then right after that, we are exited out of the console. Why do you think so? Like who who understands why this is happening? Right after we write the command and then we exit out, like we press enter, then we exit out. Sorry, we were exited out of the console. Who can catch what's happening? Like right now, I'm outside of the console. I'm not inside anymore. Like what's in this code over here could be causing this to happen?
I don't
There
know.
is no continuous loop like the loop that will keep the prompt when you do an execution, like the cmd dot loop.
It's still available.
Thank
The same day that
Is there
it's available.
you.
anyone
I
around to
think
catch it?
just a try. I think it's the return type. You return the line.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. So that's the issue. And the reason why that is correct is also because, right? Again, you see, like the thing is that um, everything is mostly inside of the like is from the code, right? The documentation says the thing, but then if you look at the code, you understand more. Okay, so here the like the stop is set to the self dot one command line, right? So like when the return line, right, inside of the post CMD, right, like when we return line and we like do the post CMD, right, inside of the command loop, like if it sees something, or is it mm, right? So here you can see that it says that while not stop, right? So while not stop is, let's say if I do this, like if I'm in the Python interactive console, right, and I do something like, let's say string is equal to like let's say oops, not that, let's just say is equal to a is equal to none. Well, let's just say s. Right. So is it equal to this? So now when I say uh, while not s, right, then let's say I'll say let's say um, uh, mm, I don't know what to put over there, but okay, let's say I just say s is equal to nope. Let's say okay, rather age is equal to int inputs uh, int inputs um, age, right, like that. Okay. Then here, oops. Okay, let's say I do 90. Right, so here you can see it's still doing that. Like it's still asking for me to put something there, right? But then here I'll do groups. Come on. Okay, so I'll say if age, right? So like I'll say if age, then S is just that, and then let's see what is going to happen here. So I'll say 89. All right, and you can see that right I do that, it's not going to run again, right? So the moment we return the line sort of is a true free value, right? Like line now is true, and this line is like this stop over here is set to the line that we receive from the one CMD, and that line we are returning back is also received from this guy, like the the post CMD, right? So basically, when the line is actually a valid line or like a valid string, it's a true value. So according to the post CMD, it will exit, right? So that is what it's doing. Like the return true, sorry, the return line that we have over here is causing it to be a true value, and it is causing that thing to exit out of us. Right. So this you wouldn't find it in the documentation, like the role understanding that you are seeing here is not really put in the documentation, but if you sort of look at this well, you'll get it. Like there's enough to start though, but I'll say it's not enough. So sometimes look at the code as well. Right. So yeah, you have a few things, but not really enough. There are other things that are not mentioned here. Right. They've only showed you what you have to see, but there's more that wasn't mentioned. So always dig deeper. Okay, so now we see why that error was occurring. Right, so we fixed that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and then run the console again, and then I'll say create the model. Ahmed, please go ahead.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to react. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, so now you can see that we create the base model, and it looks fine. Like nothing bad is happening to do. I'll open up the file that we have, and then I'll remove everything. Right, so like I'll remove everything, and I also remove the file itself. Right, because once does the saving, it should create the file as well, and do everything that we expect it to do. So I'll exit out here, and then run the console. Right, so then let's have our eyes over here as well. So I'll say create base model, right, and then you can see that now the file, the JSON file has been created. So now if I press, I do that, I can see that it's all right. Okay. So yesterday I also said that to make it better to look at that, we passed in the indent keyword arguments when we were dumping the content so that it looks much readable like this. Okay, so that's what we did. Just in case if yours doesn't look like this, you can pass in that value, and then it's going to be much more nicer, like something like this. Okay, it's more readable. Okay, so that is what we do. But then we've not handled errors. So let's go ahead and then handle those errors. And then we would see a few more redundant things going on. Okay, so now um, we've seen how the create command sees the line at the time it receives it. Okay, so we can check that. Okay, so if let's say if not line, right? If we don't receive the line, we can say that okay, well in that case, we want to print that class name is missing, right? And you want to do that. while I was building the project, I left out one of these extra two asterisks, and it took a while to find it. Yeah. So just in case if you're getting errors, maybe you might want to check that. And also one more thing that I did wrong was I think I don't know how that happened, but then there was a space before this. Like there was a space around here, and it took a while to find it. So just in case if you're also having errors around places where you know you should be getting correct, then you should be okay with that. So yes, yeah. Okay, so mm, um, so I'll just do this right. So for now, I'll just let's say check for one error only, and then say that if that error is not there, then do this right. So let's check to see whether this will work fine for us. So I'll close there, and then I'll go back to console. Then I'll try create without a line, and then you can see that it says line is empty, right? Like the class name is missing. So I can also do the same thing and put plenty spaces over there. So class name is missing. Right. So you see like all those other things, like the removal of everything has been handled for us by some methods already. Okay, so those things have been nicely handled and we do not have to worry about all of those things. So the class name is missing. Right.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Now you said if not line, that means that line must be true. True. Last line must be truthy.
Yes.
So what if you put a boolean, for example, create true or create false? What will happen?
Repeat that.
In this case, you said that if not line,
Yes.
this means that it will check if it will check the truthy of line. If it,
Yes.
what if now you put a boolean, for example, create false? What will happen? Or
Okay,
create
I
true?
did false. I said false.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is now there. Like that, like the line is now there. Right. When we did okay, so you remember that in the view of the create command, it only sees um, the like like the like the arguments, right? So if there are no arguments, it sees nothing. Okay, and like these are other few things that I think that the code can play out. Right. So yeah, the most of the things here are coming from the code. Okay, so let me try to bring that one up again. Okay, so in the area where we parse the line, right? So here they are like, if not line, then they're going to basically just like return none, none, and then the line, right? So you see that they will strip everything and then basically do something like that. So let's just try that. Okay, so let's say if I'm in my console, like Python this here, and I have s is equal to okay. Let's also use line. I say line is equal to empty something like that. And I say line dot strip, right? I mean, nothing is actually going to be stripped. Okay, rather let me save the line, like what they have done there. So line is equal to strip. Then if I check maybe I'll say line is none. Right, this one is not none. Okay, so this would only be true when like the line is not available. Okay, so if you don't pass in a line, like if you don't pass in a line, if that makes sense, right? You see that the this guy over here, like this create method, is receiving a line, and at the time that we are looking at it, this line was not provided. Is that making sense? Or maybe you might have wanted us to maybe do something like if line is equal to something like this, right? Like if line is empty or that. But uh, I'm coming from the point where it's like this. This is a method, right? It's let me look at the screen. So it's a method, right? So at the time that we are working with it, was a line defined. Okay, so that is what is happening there, right? So just so that maybe we wouldn't have to wait till the code over time. Yeah, but most of the thing that is happening here is something similar to this, right? You can see that inside of the parse line function or method, they check if the line is like none or like if not line, basically saying that if the line argument was not provided. Okay, so that's all that we are also doing over here. So I'm just checking if the line parameter was not given. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's better. It makes sense. Thank you.
yeah, sure.
Okay. So okay, so the thing is that like still think about everything we are doing here as just creating um, methods which require parameters, and the parameters are going to be given on the command line. So if the parameter is not given, or the argument is not given, it's not going to be there. So it's going to be none, or nothing's going to be there by default. Right. So still have the same thoughts as you would when you are doing your normal method function stuff. Okay, so now we also have to check for something else. And you can see that when I did false, it created it, but create false is not a good thing, and um, it's not valid, right? So our code is buggy at this point. So we have to handle the next thing, right? So it says that if the class name doesn't exist, we should print something. But how do we know whether the class name doesn't exist? Anyone? How do we know that the class name doesn't exist? Like, what mechanism can we use to check to know what is valid and what is not valid?
Maybe we can check using the.
Maybe I can try.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, for now we are sure that the only class that we have is the base model class. But
Yeah,
maybe in future we can be having more. But for now, at this point, you can check. At this point, you can check if because the only class that we have is base model, so you can check that if the class is not base model, we can return an error.
yeah, that's good. Okay. Any any other?
Okay, I think I'll go with Humphrey.
Anyone else? Okay. So basically, as you check, as you do, else if um okay. So else if like the line is not equal to base model, right? Then you'd say print class name. Okay, class doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, and there like that. Okay, let's check this as well. There's a console creates fake. Okay, so class doesn't exist nicely. And also, whilst we are doing this, we should be checking to actually make sure that it's actually not doing anything. So when I say create fake, it doesn't. When I say create base model, and you can see that it creates a new base model down here, right? That's created the base model. It has saved it as well. You can see the ID is the same as this ID over here, right? So that is really that part over there. Okay. So for the rest of this parts over here, Um, Ahmed, I have a separate engagement that I probably have to get back to before night falls badly here. So I don't know if like maybe you guys would like to maybe like uh, we got down the project up to this point. So maybe someone else can take it out from here as I try to run away. Okay. But one thing that I'd like to say before anything is that you realize that this things over here, class name is missing, and then base like class doesn't exist. It's going to, hey, you see, some typos can just put you as a type location and then you find them only after they've done what they would do value. So actually, it should be saying class doesn't exist. So create state. Yeah, now we get the right output. So what I was saying is this. I don't know how you guys did it, but what I did was that because I realized that I would have to be checking these things almost every time. Right? I would have to check is the class name there? Is the model name is the class valid? Many times for all of these commands, right? And I'm very lazy, right? So I'm not sure how you guys did it, but then one way that I did is that I have a specific function, and this is not the best way to do it yet, but it's one way to do it. But I wouldn't recommend this way because if you are going to also do the show command, you also have to do the same test. If class name missing, do that. Maybe it's just some few lines of code, but for me it's a lot to type this much every time. I can't do that. So what I did was that I have a specific method that I just pass in everything to it so that it will check the line to see if it is correct before it does anything more. So that will take me to where I said I'll show something I did in my code, and then I think I would put everything over here to a close, and then maybe if someone else would like to pop up and continue. Okay, so this is what I have here. Um, oh, and if you can see that, like the lazy methods, yes, there are some few things I write over there that I was feeling lazy to write over and over again. Like it was constantly happening. So basically, right, this is some part of my code. Don't screenshot. Okay, so here's what I do. Right, sorry. Um, hey, okay. So here's what I do. I have this method over here. It's a method I used to do that, and you can see I like to heavily document my code because I want to know when I've come back to it and it's going to be easier to work with. Right. So here you can see I have this method here that will basically check like whether I should check the class name or check the ID or check the attributes. So I have these things over here that is going to handle that. And you can see from the documentation that it has like it tells you how it's supposed to work, right? So from here, what I do is I check, and also I use something called Schlex, right? Someone mentioned it to me, and then it is a very good thing to use. It's okay. I'll show you where it is in the documentation. It is right after this, right? So you can check it out. It's a very good module that you can check out. It's very cool for uh, certain things, right? So the main reason why I use it is so that, for instance, you see, if I have this, if I do something like create, and then I put base model inside of quotes like this, you can see that it says base model does not exist, but it does exist, right? But then in my code, like in my console. Let me bring this one here. What is it? Mm, okay. Uh, Let me get a different shell. Mm, okay. Cindy ALX Airbnb Pro. Right. So, then in my console, if I do, let's say, create, and then I put base model inside of quote, oops, mistake. I didn't check that. Yes, yes. That's one of the things I didn't check. And actually, it didn't check for it. So, okay. So now, here's the thing. What I could have done here is this. Okay, I didn't check for that. That's amazing. Okay, but you can see that mine doesn't write that error because I checked somewhat differently. Because like the select thing I do over here would take it as if it is one argument. So it will actually rather bring the only that. So probably let me just show that, and I'll probably fix this error very soon. Thank you for the session. I'll fix it. Okay, so here's the thing. If I go to this side and then I import selects, right? So now if I have something like a string like Ahmed and Maxwell like this, right? Oops, sorry, right, right, and I do a normal split on this over here, right? Okay. I don't want a normal split. I see Ahmed and Maxwell because like it's splitting based on the spaces. The same way, if I have this right, I have Ahmed and Maxwell, then I put my name in full like this, right? Now S is like this. And if I do the split on this, you can see I'm still getting Ahmed and Maxwell as one, Nana as one, and then Fortune as one, right? But that's not what we wanted. Like this is a full one string. Like this is a full one string. So what the select does is that it's able to actually handle it in that way. So when I say select dot split, then I pass in the s over here. You can see that it's able to do that nicely. Ahmed and Maxwell and Forsen. So that's what the select is doing over there. So what I'm missing over here is the area where I am calling that I should have done something particularly. Since we've all done the project, what I'll do is I'll just um, show that to you, and then this shouldn't be bad. So I'll just say select split quickly, and then let me just do that about it, just so that in case they put it in quotation marks, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You never know what users can do. They are so unpredictable. Those people. So uh, that should do. And now like console, and then I do let's say create base model. This should work fine now. Base model. Okay. So select would return a list. Okay, it will return a list. So yes, I, I I want the first thing. Sorry, but this is what happens in coding. Okay, so I fixed that error. So now when I say create base model, so I hope you understand what caused the error, right? Like the selects will return um, a list, and then I was returning like the class name, right? And I would actually have to rename that to make it much more descriptive. So when I say base model like this, now it's able to do it for because the select is able to take away this um, like quotation marks out of there and return it as a normal string as we would expect, right? So the select is very good, right? And as part of that, what I would like to do is rather to say, I'll just call this class name because I think it's much more cleaner to say class name because that's what I'm expecting, right? Like, uh, yeah, it's going to make my this one much more clearer, at least for me, right? So I'll just say this is going to be a class name. Um, let's see, this is going to be the expected class name, right? So you're not limited to call it a line. It can be anything, and I think class name is much more suitable for the creates method, right? So it can be anything. For me, right now, I think it's much better. So I've refactored the code as well, right? So this works fine, right? So the other thing I was trying to show over here is actually the is valid arguments thing, right? So the documentation is there to explain it, but I just check if the line is okay and contains the required arguments needed for the command. False otherwise. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm checking that if the argument does not exist, like if there's no argument, then like there's nothing. Like the class does not exist. Like sorry, the class name is missing. But then if the argument zero, right, the first argument we receive, which we expect to be the class name, is not in itself the models. As in, for me, I have a dictionary which is holding all of my valid models name or like all the valid classes. Right. So if it is not inside of that, then the class does not exist, and then I return false. So as I was saying, you can return false in a specific function that is not related to the CMD. Okay, like the CMD model, if you return any function that is related to the CMD model by it like model by itself, okay, relax. If any function that is related to the CMD returns true or false, it would modify how the command loop would run, right? But any other function, like any other function at all that you write, which is not specific to the CMD model, would be fine. You can return true, false, and anywhere that you want. But if it is, let's say, in a command that you are running, maybe instead of do EOF or do underscore something or help underscore something, like anything specific to the command thing that we are working with, if you retain anything that uh, evaluates to a truthy, you know what will happen. Okay, so then at one point we'll check for the instance. Like I said, don't copy my code. So I'm just trying to show what over here. But that's a few things that I did over here. I realized that like there's going to be a lot of things that need to be checked, and I can't be checking it every time for each thing. Right. So instead of the places where it needs to be done, I just check for this. Right. I check if not self dot is valid act, then I return, right? So that is what's going to happen over there. Okay, so that is how I handled this particular thing over here, right? Instead of doing the checking one by one for each of the things there, that is how I handle that, right? So um, it's like something that you can try out, okay? Because be lazy, okay? Be lazy. It's good to be lazy, right? And then also maybe try to create specific help methods for the commands that you have, right? You see, like the doc string is fine, but then it doesn't really show the user how to use it. Okay, but maybe you can have your doc string show up there, but it wouldn't really look good. This is why I'm trying to say this. So let's say for now, I would let me show how like the help by itself looks like. So when I say help create, you see how like the help is laid out. Let's see if I comment out this help and then I run the console again and I say help create. Right. You see this my doc string, right? It doesn't look nice. Right. It doesn't look nice at all. Right. It doesn't tell the user anything much. Right. So here, what I do is that I want my doc string to be a doc string for the method, and for the help, if there's a specific thing that I want them to be helped with, then it should be right there so that it's like I mean, over here, I can style it much better to look much good, right? So these are a few things that I just did. So maybe if you want to check out, you could maybe incorporate or maybe add to your code. Just not by copying it. I'm like, okay. You can take the idea and maybe make it your own, right? But that is something that I, I did. Right. So like I said, I would have to make a few calls. Like you remember that I received a call at the beginning of the session, so I have to make that call real quick, right? But I hope maybe you guys. I mean, we've done the project, but for the rest there, please maybe if I finish fast and then you guys are still here, I could join back in and also learn something. But these are a few things that I did in my project that I think was helpful. And I don't know how you also implemented your search instances, like how you search for them, right? So I also saw that you'll be searching for things for a while. So like anything that I find that I'll be doing multiple times, even if I have to do it 3 times at different places, I'll create a method for it so that at that point it's there, so I can call it in any time because it will also help you stop errors that could happen, like errors that could pop up. All right. So yeah, I would have to leave you guys at this point, and I'll be back if I'm able to return. Right, but I can take one or two questions, and then I'll be out of here. Any question?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Uh, what if you want to return something in the do functions inside the command? Maybe you want to have a method. Is it possible to return anything in the do functions, in the do methods, sorry, inside the console?
If you return anything, then it must be a false value because if you return in anything, like I said, in anything that is of the command, like in anything that the CMD would be uh, looking at, it can't be true because the moment it becomes true, it will stop the console. Like it will set it to be that. Or maybe one other thing that you can do, maybe I don't know, but could be that you would modify the stop attribute to something. But I've not tried it, so I can't confirm it. Right. But most of the time, I don't think you really need to even return anything from the value from that end. But if you need to return something, maybe you have a different function and return it, and then take the value inside of your do command and then print out the value. I think maybe that might be like maybe a different way to go about it that might not cause any issues. Uh, But so far as I'm concerned, if you return anything that is of a true value or that evaluates to true, it would um, as you saw create the console.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so okay, I want to ask a question. It's not related to this actually. So somebody has typed in the chat. I think it's Peter. So Peter is asking, how did you get so good at coding? He's struggling left and right. So
uh, uh, maybe that would be like asking, how did you get so good at working without needing help, right? Ah, it came from guidance and also working for a long time. I mean, I've been working all my life, so yeah, maybe something like that. But really, it's let's just say it's time and practice, and also maybe reaching out when you need help and having people that you can also look up to, uh, looking at code of other people, like not like copying it, but then like taking inspiration from what they did, like how they did what they did, and see if you can make sense out of that. Like uh, maybe just like code with people, understand how they code. Um, and I think the most important part is to be lazy. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think being lazy would I don't know, but being lazy is very good. Yeah, and just so that I don't confuse anyone. By lazy, I mean that doing something today that would validate your idleness tomorrow. Okay, so that's what I mean by being lazy. Like you do something today that would warrant or would like uh, what's the word? Okay, let's say doing something today that will vindicate your idleness tomorrow, right? So um, also maybe to put it differently, you can say that for something that someone will do tomorrow, you do today. What he'll do later, you do now. Right? So um, by laziness, that's what I mean. Right? So maybe for people who do not understand what I mean by lazy, that's what I mean by lazy in the name. Okay, so um, it takes time, and I wouldn't say I'm very good yet. There's more to learn, and there's a lot more to fix. Right? So, we all have written back code before. I look at some code I've written some time back, and I'm like, wow, yeah. So yeah, we all get that feeling, and I also look at some senior people's code, and I'm like, wow, like there's a lot to learn, and there's more to do, right? So I think maybe the best you can do is maybe learn from the people that maybe you admire or they they are active. Right? So yeah, it's time and over time experience. So I also struggle left, right, center, and even mine like everywhere, like east, west, north, and south, all of it. I mean, at least yours is just left and right, and the center part of the left and right. You don't go north and south. I go all the angles. Yeah, so I can say you are even safer than I was. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'll say.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Maxwell. Yeah. So, guys, I don't think the session is going to continue actually, because we're just supposed to use 2 hours and then. Okay, Maxwell. Okay, sure. We'll talk more later.
Maxwell, before he leaves, has he left?
No, he's still around.
All right,
Okay.
boss.
I was kindly requesting if it's possible, we can be planning this PLD evenly, almost very oftenly. Maybe for each project we are doing, maybe we can be planning. I think I'm learning a lot from you, okay? And I really appreciate for the effort that you are doing. I don't know if it's possible on your end that we can be doing these things oftenly, like it be a routine. I don't know how you see about it, how your schedule is about it.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I usually hold sessions daily at 4 p.m. GMT, but I've been taking a break for a while. But then I'll get back to that. And also in this group here, we meet 3 times a week, right? So um, we meet 3 times: Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to discuss and learn about stuff. Okay, so um, there's already arrangement for learning continuously. Right? So it's this project that has sort of like really made it intense that we have to meet a lot, but we still meet regardless most of the time. So